Meet my boy Dylan. He went from a sales job to full-time in real estate to now being a full-time Amazon seller, and even sold over $200,000 on Amazon in just 1 month in his first year. In this video, we're going to go through his entire story and his keys to success. Let's get right into it. What's going on, Dylan? Welcome to the show, man.
Good to be here. How are you, man?
Absolutely. Good to have you here as well, my friend. I'm doing great. Q4 is getting rocking and rolling here mid-October when we're filming this, and just waiting for those big months to kick off in November and December, doing a lot of prep now as well. But obviously you didn't always have a, super awesome Amazon business. I think you said it was like 200K in revenue in August right there.
Yeah, man. August was nuts. Yeah, just when stuff works, you just hit it hard. So we had a really good August.
Yeah. And then obviously scale back a little bit because, right, big months are coming. You kind of, set the stage and everything here. But take us back, what made you want to get into selling on Amazon? When did you actually get started?
Yeah, so kind of always been business minded, man. Like grew up with an entrepreneurial dad, so like kind of had that in the family. And yeah, just like always anything that's made money. I was the kid, with lemonade stands. I had a long grass cutting business growing up, like doing all that kind of stuff. Actually like messed around with eBay and Craigslist a lot. Like you don't hear many people talk about Craigslist.
Craigslist, yeah.
Bro, I was like moving what was it, the iPod classics and stuff on Craigslist back in the day. But usually like I got into reselling a little bit, just like my own stuff. Like I would buy nice clothes in high school and just like resell it back on eBay after I wore it a few times. So yeah, I guess that's kind of how I got into like reselling, or at least knew about it. But didn't do anything related to reselling for a good like decade after high school. Kind of had the 9 to 5, always wanted to get into entrepreneurship. Every job I ever had, I was always thinking about like, how can I build skills here that are going to like relate to business later? I had a basic sales job, and I'm like, that's all those skills are for a business I want to have one day. And so kind of had that fire in me. I always wanted to do something, but just had no idea where to go with it. And I guess we'll talk about it a little bit later, but I did find real estate. So I kind of started putting some passion into real estate, and really like driving that home, building a real estate portfolio. But I think after I got to a certain point there, I was looking for other avenues, found you luckily on Twitter, and got into Amazon. So.
And when specifically did you get into Amazon and make your first sales?
That would be first sale happened like mid-January.
Gotcha. Okay. So mid-January. And then like what was the aha moment? Because I remember exactly when it was for me. It was about July of 2021 when I sold like 75 to 100 of one ASIN in one day. But what was your aha moment when you're like, holy crap, like not only do I see people talking about this on the internet, but it actually works for me now too?
Yeah, honestly, it happened really early on. So when I first talked to you, you introduced me to a guy here locally, Tyler DeVerse. Shout out Tyler DeVerse.
Big shout out, man. Facts.
Great guy. Yeah.
We're gonna get him on as well too. Big shout out, Tyler. Yeah.
Great guy. He's killing it as well. But honestly, I talked to you and you told me about him 2 days later. I met him in person, and I'm like, okay, this is somebody in real life. Like I know he's killing it. He just got off like that December high. And I kind of rode that wave. I'm like, this is somebody, in real life. Like he's telling me, he's showing me his numbers. Like I know this works. I didn't really have that moment personally till maybe a couple months later. And honestly, for me, it was RA. Like I used to hit the TJ Maxx, Ross, like hit those really hard. And I could come home same day knowing I had like this much profit that I made that day. And I don't know, when I see something that works, even if it's a little bit, like, I want to put everything I have behind it and just keep growing from there. So yeah, I would say like probably the outlets and Ross and TJ Maxx.
Yeah, that proximity piece is so important, man. Because like in the coaching program, I'm always trying to like group people together, basically, that I think will get along with well. And it's very convenient that it was both in person and, someone who's a great fit, right? Because oftentimes it's all online, digitally based, which is great too, and everything. But the real important component of that, right, is that like you learned that Amazon was an avenue and you took action on it quick. You learned that there were cool people in your local area and took action on it quick, right? And that's a big, big important thing because, there's people watching this video who have been considering doing this stuff for a while, but haven't yet taken action. But the taking action is the only thing that takes you from not good to good over time. If you work super hard, but you got to, start chipping away there as quick as possible. And being that this is in, mid-October, we got a month and a half till the biggest time of the year. Now's the time to get going on the stuff. Like, what would you say to the person who's like on the fence and was like, oh, I'm not really sure it's for me or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, what would you say to that person?
Dude, there's like literally no risk. I mean, there's so many ways you can go about it with almost zero risk. If you're doing RA to FBM, like if you're going into the stores, you're scanning products at TJ Maxx, like on a very regular basis. And honestly, I think it was a mistake that I did it as long as I did, but I just loved going into TJ Maxx and Ross and like coming home with $200-300 in profit after like, an hour of scanning a store. You can walk in and you can, what your replens are, like they keep stocking some of the same stuff. And it's honestly super easy when you're going that route and you kind of know what you need to do. Yeah, you need to put some time in, the first couple times you go into the store and scan a lot of stuff, but like there's really not much risk at all to that if you're FBMing it. And worst case scenario, like it's going to sell, you can move it quick, you don't have to send it in and like have slow FBA check-ins. So yeah, just like the lack of risk, like just try it and then you're going to get hooked. Like if you have that fire and you have that hustle to be an entrepreneur, like you're going to get hooked. If you don't, it's probably not for you anyway. So just try it.
Yeah, and that on the point of risk, obviously when you're buying stuff, you're putting out capital and everything, there's inherent risk with that, but there are ways to reduce that, right? Pick up orders, getting stuff listed quick, merch fill, not needing to rely on check-in times, right? Some people will even go into stores and get products listed in there that they can see has a big stock, maybe a couple retailers around it have big stock, or just place pickup orders as well, and use books as well as another avenue too, where you can take down the risk factor. And then once things really well, like you in this case, go into some of your local RA places, some of the employees, kind of the sales cycle, some of the deals they got going on, you got the rewards program memorized, right? You have a better time of doing that, but you got to put in that initial work up front too, and everything. So typically what beginners really struggle with, man, is finding profitable products to sell on like the OA front and some of the other successful stuff you've done with R. Like what are some of like the tips and tricks and special sauce you've used to find a lot of profitable items? Because that's typically the biggest bottleneck for most beginners.
Yeah, I agree. And it was for me, honestly, too. I think that's why I did want to go out to the stores as much as I could early on, just because you knew you had quick wins and it kind of gives you that momentum. But when I first started January, February, like I was just putting so much time into sourcing as every hour I had, like trying to source as much as I could, mostly storefront stalking, also kind of like, talking with Tyler, talking with some other guys I met, just getting ideas of different brands and products you can sell. I think like that would be the route I would recommend is storefront stock you whatever you can. And you just see a lot of the same like trends and products. And you guys have said it before, profitable products hang out close to each other. So once you find a good brand, like you're going to rabbit hole into another brand and another brand. And yeah, if you're diving deep, you're going through the variations, like it's hard to sit down and not, if you're putting in 8-hour days sourcing, which is like exactly what I was doing January, February, you're going to start finding products. And even if you're getting a couple buys a day, like if you're doing that every single day, you're going to, build up a good catalog and like get that skill down. So like anything else, you really got to put the time in. You can't like, do it for a couple days a week and then, stop for a couple days a week and then go back to it and think you're going to find good products. Like you got to put in the time. It's like going to the gym, you got to be consistent. You got to keep going after it. And yeah, just like, I think for me, storefront stalking was the best method just because you see what other people are selling. And like, if they're selling it, it's profitable. And maybe you don't know how to get it profitable, but if you keep looking at that product and that site for long enough, I was just texting you yesterday about a certain item I was trying to find profitable and I could not figure it out. Like I had been looking at this thing for like 3-4 days. And I think I might've figured it out too, but it takes time and continuing to go back and like people are selling this stuff. So you just got to figure out how to get it. And it'll just snowball from there.
Yeah, and the interesting too is that one specific item we were talking about, like personally haven't really found much success with that specific item, but there were that similar line of SKUs was successful from that specific supplier, but it's only good, 7 days out of the month. So you got to know about it when that sale's going on, right? That's why, what you guys as viewers, right? That's how you're going to be able to get good output over time, is building up that knowledge around these different retailers. And you can't get that in just a couple months because you have to give yourself some time to get lucky to build momentum initially, right? And you probably don't have 8 hours a day to source right away like Dylan did, but Dylan put up a good work up front in his other real estate stuff that freed up his time to give him that availability. So you got to work with what you got and get going as quick as possible, right? And get around other cool Amazon sellers, that are in the mix and everything, right? So that's been something that was a huge tool for me, right? Just like building community, finding cool people to work with, cool people to get in group chats with, get on Discord with, etc. Right? What are the benefits of that? And how do you actually do that for someone who's watching this? Because like I'm a huge proponent of it. People hear me yelling about it all the time. What does it actually look like and how do you do it though?
Yeah, for sure. So I had never used Discord before I got into this space. So I learned what Discord was, kind of messed around with that. I'm still not great with it. I'm definitely an iMessage guy, but for me, it's been Twitter. I love Twitter. I think it's a great way to like, you can immediately talk to multi, like and
All the boy right
subscribe.
there. Yep. Back right there. FBA. Yes, sir.
But yeah, I mean, I think kind of funny story. So I was just messing around on Twitter one day and I saw this guy, his, bio and all this was like, love to ski, Amazon seller, also has real estate. I'm like, dude, that's literally me. Let me hit
That's a
this guy
huge
up.
seller too. Yeah. Huge. I know who you're talking about as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, just messaged him and I had no idea he was a big seller. And then I find out he does 25 million a year OA. And I was like, well, I've been talking to this guy for like 2-3 weeks. Like he was, a homie of mine.
And you paid
So
him no money too. I assume, right?
exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
Exactly.
If you guys want formal help selling on Amazon and want to be personally coached one-on-one directly from me, take a look at the link in the description for my coaching program application. The best time of the year, the absolute Q4 rush is coming in December, and I want you guys fully prepared. So now's the time if you're interested in working directly with me. Take a look at the link in the description. Go ahead and put in your information. See if you qualify. I'll see you in there. And back to the interview with Dylan.
Yeah. So like you can get so much value just putting yourself out there, trying to like, just DM people, hit them up on Twitter, hit them up. Then you'll get their phone number and it goes from there. But for me, the most value with networking is not like lead sharing. I think a lot of people come into it like, yo, let's source together. Let's
Very
get on a call.
transactional. Yeah. It's not at all
Very
the furthest thing.
no. And
Yeah.
I'm bad at that. Like if I get on a Zoom call to like share leads, like I'm just gonna talk to you. I'm terrible at like sourcing and also talking to people. Like I either source or I'm gonna chat it up with you. But when you start to meet other people and you run into different problems, which is going to happen, you're going to get, inauthentic complaints or like the million things that come up. Amazon changes every day. Like you got to stay up to date. And the only way to do that is to have people in your network you can chat with and be like, hey, I got this. What do I do? Whatever comes up like that. That's where I've gotten the most value is like quick fixes to my problems versus me just like spinning my wheels, staring at a computer and trying to figure it out on my own.
Yeah, because you'd have to wait so long for feedback if you're doing it independently, right? If you're, the average new seller, right, doesn't really have any friends in the space or anything, doesn't really have, anyone they know that has an online business. So they might have to wait in the context of an FBA purchase, 2-3 weeks to figure out if something's good. Meanwhile, Dylan, right, he's working with the boys, right? Me, I'm working with the boys, right? And you watching this can go find that as well too. Comment to this video, Discord, whatever, everywhere. It's free, right? And everything, right? So you avoid mistakes. You learn quicker, you get quicker feedback, and you overall just have a more productive time from what we've seen, right? Are there people that don't do that? Of course, right? But just in general, in terms of like force multipliers, right? If you could design the perfect Amazon seller, a friend group of other sellers would be part of it, right? And the nice thing is that is like we're literally like a super free and fun thing that's a part of this as well too. So in your specific case, I remember back in like January and February, you had one of the quickest like auto one gates, like just turned it on and started doing really well with like some small brands, man. How the heck did you find that stuff? Because that's one of the things, beginners are a little worried about, man, gating, ungating, etc. You were cleaning up with some small brands and some auto one gates right away, if I remember correctly. How'd you find that stuff?
Yeah, good question. I had the hardest time trying to get the big clothing brand on
It
Gates.
happens,
Like
man. Yeah, literally, it
it
does
didn't
happen.
so I started in January. I did my first submissions the first week of January, and I didn't get them till March. So like everybody was sourcing all this good stuff. They're like, "Yo, hit this sale, hit this sale." I couldn't do any of it, and I was like meeting people, and they're like sharing leads and talking, but it was all stuff I couldn't buy. And so I found some certain sites that had a lot of auto engates, and then again, they just hang out close to each other. So you find one brand, you got a bunch of different SKUs in that brand. You find other brands at that same retailer, and then you find storefronts that also carry those brands. And it just kind of it's a puzzle, man. They all just connect. So I think I just started like putting the pieces in, and again, I was putting a ton of time in sourcing. So I found like stuff that worked for me, and I went through tons and tons and tons of leads that I couldn't buy that I knew were profitable, and that was really frustrating. But you save those, you bank those, you kind of know those brands, those sites, how it works. So even though I couldn't buy them at the time, like I bought I had the information for later once it did apply. So yeah.
Sweet. That's what's up. Yeah. So, it's obviously it's doable. It's a bunch of work as you were putting in. You said this entire time here on the topic of real estate too. So a lot of people want to use Amazon to get cash to do real estate. You use real estate, it sounds like, to free up time to then eventually be able to do Amazon. Obviously, maybe, not in that particular mind frame from the get-go and everything, but like, what's that transferable skill set, if anything? And what's it been like, doing both of them at the same time? Because a lot of people watching this aspire to use Amazon as the cash cow to get into real estate.
Yeah, good question. So I do feel like I probably did it backwards. I just found real estate first and like had a bunch of energy and passion I wanted to put into something. And that's what I found with real estate. But yeah, I had a full-time job, like super demanding job when I was doing that. And you just, if you're passionate about something and you like have the desire at the end, which for me was like financial freedom to buy my time to do something I really wanted. Like that's what drove me the whole time. And I wanted to travel and do these things too. So I would oftentimes like go do real estate rehab stuff. Like I'd meet with a contractor before I went into work. So this would be like 6:30 in the morning, meeting with somebody, setting up their day. And then I check on the project when I left work at the end of the day. And like, you just find ways to get it done. If you're really passionate about something and you got this vision and like, you got to work towards it. So for me, that's what it was with real estate. And yeah, luckily it bought my time so I could learn Amazon much quicker.
Boom, right? And have the, the skill set, and that like real estate probably taught you work ethic, probably taught you like finding time to do stuff, right?
Definitely.
You probably what I like about like finance stuff and like investing and everything is there's a lot more of like a clear blueprint, right? So there's like really good books that teach you a lot. And Amazon there's not as much of that and everything, but if you can figure out Amazon, right, there's that opens up you up to a lot of stuff down the line. I really like to, especially with younger people, right, make it very clear that like you should not be doing Amazon forever if you don't want to, right? You should use Amazon as a vehicle to not just learn to flip name brand product for a profit, but also teach you networking, teach you, capital management, right? Teach you long-term thinking, teach you good hard work and everything. So if you don't want to do it forever, you don't have to. And that's a big problem I see a lot of beginners think is like, okay, they go to retail arbitrage for the first time and they scan an entire store and a couple of things are good. Little did they know there was a coupon that actually made a bunch of things good. They just don't know it yet, which is a part of being a beginner. And their parents are like, or their family's like, you're going to go do that for the next 20 years. And it's like, of course not. I'm going to start out. I'm going to learn it's a stepping stone, similar to how your job was a stepping stone. You were looking for skills to learn within it, right? Yeah. Retail arbitrage is a stepping stone. So now, right, talk about like some of the hiring and stuff you've been able to do as well. Cause you were telling me about that, a week or two ago, especially.
Yeah, man. Like the more you're in the space, you realize like there's only so much you can do yourself. And then, like I'm still doing the real estate stuff too. It's something I have to do almost every day. There's something that comes up. So I am spread pretty thin. So the only way to scale and grow, which is obviously the goal here, is to build the system. So I did hire a VA pretty early on, I feel like, and I was nervous about that. Like I didn't want to have that extra overhead. So I kind of like justified it by having her do some stuff on the real estate side and Amazon side.
So smart. Yeah.
So I mean, it's so cheap in comparison now, but I was really nervous at the beginning to have that.
It's like $500 a month or something, right? Tax deductible. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I want to stay lean, and like everything in my life is lean. And so that I can like have this flexibility to invest in the business. So I was nervous about it, but it's so worth it. Now I feel like it's cheap. That was something I hired. I got a prep center pretty early on just because I'm paying Texas sales tax is really high.
Yep.
It's a slam dunk right away. And then also have somebody who's going to help me do in-house FBM prep a little bit, and then also helping with some FBA prep.
He's going to be doing a lot. You haven't been through a Q4. He's going to be doing a lot. Trust me.
Okay. Well, a lot.
A lot more than you think, in the most beautiful, profitable, exhausting way.
Yeah. And of course, I'm going to do as much as I humanly possibly can, but like I want to be buying. I don't want to be prepping. So yep. I'm going to do as much as I can, but I got somebody in the bullpen if I need it. And then most recently, as you were referring to, is I did just hire somebody that's going to do some outlet shopping for me. So last week was the first time I had used her. And this is a lady I just kind of met. She was doing a side hustle at the time, and she lives near the outlets and often comes to where I live, which is about 45 minutes from the outlets. So it's perfect scenario. I'm paying her per piece of what she shops at the outlet. And I'm literally just on the live, seller amp history, just checking each product and like on the phone with her, telling her, hey, this is good. Buy 10 of these, buy 8 of these. And so she picked up 92 units on last Thursday when I talked to her. And then she delivered them to my house on Friday. And it works out great. I just put in.
Yeah. What do you pay someone to do that? Because that's like a really unique job, obviously,
Yeah. And I'm honestly amazed she took it, but she's like, side hustle type of lady. And she shops for about 2 hours. I paid her, if it's shoes, I paid her $2 a unit. If it's clothes, I'm going to pay her $1.50. Yep. And so I'm just putting that into my seller amp calculator, but she's delivering them too, which is 45 minutes away. But for her, it makes sense because she's driving from
$300 for 6 hours or whatever that ends up being. That's actually pretty good now that you think, and you don't have to wait for shit to sell. It's very cash flow efficient. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. I didn't. Now that makes a ton of sense to me. Yeah, on 90 units.
And she's already driving this way to do her other side gig job. So like, it's basically, it's paying for her gas now, and then some.
Yep. Yeah, seriously. So that's a big win-win too. And that's the types of games you want to play in business, right? The virtual assistant, scenario, it's like, okay, cheap countries like India, Pakistan, the Philippines, etc. $500 a month from what we've seen, is a good wage, for example, right? And it's a great arbitrage for you too. And I think just those countries are significantly cheaper and everything. So overall, just I'd say, phenomenal first 10 months or so and everything. You should cruise past the million in sales your first year. You get a little 200 ball November, 300 ball December. I feel like easy. You can go ahead and do that.
Baby.
That's the beautiful thing. And then you've done a great job of documenting on social media too. If people got any questions, they want to hit the DMs, follow your journey a little bit more, where can they find you?
Right here, baby. Twitter exclusively. Yeah.
Cool. So REFBA right there. Y'all check out the boy. And if you guys are interested in formal help, take a look at the link in the description. Go follow Dylan. You'll see all the adventures. You'll see some more wisdom on the timeline as well. You do a lot of good long form stuff. You typically type it out. It might just not be a picture and everything too. That's smart. Right there. You can get a lot of tips for Dylan and everything. And appreciate y'all watching. If you got any questions for us, let us know down below. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks a lot for coming on, Dylan.
For sure. Thanks, Miles.
Hope this video is helpful, guys. Make sure you check out the link in the description if you're looking for formal help. Check out Dylan's content on social media. Leave a question in the comments if you got any. Make sure to subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Check out another student interview here.